Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Stat Me Up for Anfield Index. The Reds absolutely hammered West Ham. I could say I'm trying to avoid a pun, but I'm really not there. It was a great result in a 5-0. There's them from down the East Lancs Road coming up this weekend as well. We're not going to get into the off-the-field drama because that's for another show and for another day, but very excited to be involved in this one, but I'm hoping you're going to come with a load of good stats for West Ham. Give us that sort of build-up, aren't we?
Yes, mate. I mean, I think I said when I put it out this week, a performance fit for a king, and it certainly was. I mean, it was a very good way to send off. Everyone's been doing the whole kind of end of 2024 and all this watch your moments, but I think ending that with that kind of performance was outstanding. Really, the boys were just on it from minute one. Well, apart from there, they had a really early chance, but yeah, it was good. I thought it was a very good performance. Very good performance.
Yeah, so much to like about this. They were absolutely hammered, and we'll get into it, Bart, because it's an interesting one, the West Ham, because I looked at it before and we talked before, which I'll give you due. You called about the shot volume and different things, but I might be wrong on this. I'm expecting sheer dominance across all the stats because that is just the way it felt in this game.
Yeah, I mean, your top line stuff here, as we kind of always kind of do, is 52% possession to 48 for West Ham. So not massive, but the big key thing, as we always trying to say on UP and on this show as well, is we look at field tilt, which is how much time you spend in your attacking third on a split. And we spent 65% of that possession in the final third, which gives you a good indication. If we look at how we did, we had 22 shots to their 7. They had no shots on target. We had 13, which is pretty dominant, for being honest with you. We had 17 shots in the penalty box. Penalty box touches, we had 45 to their 18. There's just 8 big chances to 1. These are big numbers considering we're away from home. Even the big sides change a little bit when they go away from home. 3 just under 3.2 xg to less than 0.4, so that's in and around one big chance we let them have, but as a total, not as in individual snippets. Threat 2.6 for us, 1.2 for them, so that's how much the areas of possession we got into, how highly they were valued in a big matrix about what is the expected to develop a chance from those areas. So we were converting it at the magical 120 is around the mark where you start. Yeah, it is dominance. Okay, so that's a really good mark, and to keep them below 30% is also exceptional. Just to roll it down, now we often talk about halves as a split. First half, 27 penalty box touches to 6 for them. We had 8 shots on target, 12 in total. They only had 3. We created 1.64 xg. They had 0.12. And then in the second half, we continued that kind of dominance. We had 18 penalty box touches there, 12, so a little bit less. We changed the tactics a little bit, which I'll come on to show you a bit more later on. Still didn't let them have anything on target and dropped off our shot volume a little bit by 2, which is not a lot, but still created about 1.5 xg. So there are some really good moments in there. Looking at your sort of game states, if you like. So when the game was drawn state, we didn't let them create any XG. Wow. When we took a 1-0 lead, we let them have 0.1 XG, which is like a shot from outside the box at an angle, right? Give people an idea about what the quality of that shot is, or just on the edge of the 18. And then as soon as we'd got over 2 goals in front, which is typically the point at which we just stay and we change tactics, we let them have the most amount of XG and the most amount of threat they had in the game. So, yeah, it's the typical trend with our tactics. And in terms of penalty box touches, they had 5 before we'd got to garbage time. So once we got to 2-0 in ahead, we then let them have 13 penalty box touches. But before that point, we let them in our box 5 times, which is just mind-blowing considering we're away from home. Carlo Monte Carlos, people always see me sometimes reference these and sometimes not. But so in actual probabilities, looking at all of the shot values and the chances. So each shot that is taken out of our total would have had a XG is just a probability of 0 to 100, right? Or 0 to 1. Yeah, so it's probabilities of what, in terms of looking at tens of thousands and thousands and thousands of shots with the XYs, looking at whether you got a defender in the way or two defenders or a keeper or the angle. Every shot in the Premier League and in Europe is assigned a probability that will lead to a goal from that shot. Okay, so that's how XG comes about. Now, the way these two graphics are done is then taken out on and using a simulation called Monte Carlo, which, if anyone knows anything about probabilities, you're going to work out it's going to come from casinos and making money.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets its name from. Fundamentally, the casino is looking at how you look at probabilities of various of the games and how likely they are to lose and win. And what you can apply it to several different situations. In this one, we've done it to sport, in football, and you're just looking at the probabilities of the chances and saying, right, is it likely that with us creating, if you convert 3.14, I think our XG, so that's 314%. Yeah. How likely are we to get a goal out of that? And how likely is it that the opposition with their 1 point, although what they get in the total in the end, 1.2 are to score? Yeah. And you look at it at an individual level. So how likely is that 0.1 going to go in? So 0.1 would be a 10% chance, right? So that's 1 in 10. So how likely is it that will go in and Liverpool won't score any of their chances that are around any of those others, right? So that Monte Carlo does that in a very, very methodical algorithm, that posh word that we all hear about with AI and the rest of it. So that's what Monte Carlo does. And the other thing you need to know with the Monte Carlo is it's not just run once. So typically Opta and all your supercomputers you see out there that work out who's going to win the league and the rest of it, they do it 10,000 times. So they play this game or the season, you get those probabilities 10,000 times. So it takes a lot of computing power. And then it spits out and says, right, how many have you got in for this? So this one here is typically, it'll tell me how many times would the score be 1-0 to West Ham. So in 10,000 probabilities, there is a likelihood that West Ham could have won that game 1-0, right? At 1%. So 1% out of 10,000, West Ham with a 1.1 with 1-2 would have won the game, right? Nicked it, would have been daylight robbery, but that's in terms of probabilities, it happens, right? The most likely, looking at Monte Carlo, is actually 3-0 to us. Okay, so that's looking at the strength of some of the chances we had. I think we had about 0.4, a couple of 0.2s chances. So they're like 2 in 10 or 4 in 10. Yeah. So you look at those kind of things, and that's where it would have worked out and gone, well, 19% of the time you end up with 3-0. 5-0 is 8%, which again is not too long, but it just gives you an idea about that. Probably some of those chances were the value of player. So you look at XG, so people talk about the post shot as well, which is the more a measure of the keeper, right? So if someone has a 0.2 chance and the post shot goes up to 0.8, they've made that chance better, right? Because they've made it harder for the keeper to score. If it comes down, then it's made it easier for the keeper. And that's where you look at some of the chances. The Monte Carlo doesn't take that into account, I'm just saying. So yeah, you can see here the most likely would have been 3-0. 5-0 is 8%, and that is still more likely than West Ham winning the game. Okay, so yeah, that's where it is. And then the other thing that Monte Carlo would do is say, right, well, having taken that all on board, the number of results here that mean that Liverpool would have more goals than West Ham would give you a probability of winning, which in this case is 93.5. Well, let's be nice, 94% of the time Liverpool win that game, and the draw is 5.3, and West Ham, as I said, it's about 1% of time that they would have come away with a win, which is what they've got here. So that, in a real layman's, trying to make that really simple for you, Monte Carlo looks at probabilities, orders them, and runs a simulation to say how many times would this equal this and this equal that, and then brings it together in terms of a score matrix for this one. And spits it out. So yeah, hopefully that's helped a few things. We can put some links out as well to link with that. But yeah, that's Monte Carlo for you.
Wow. 94%. I mean, like, You wonder why when it's 94%, we were worried because the bookies in the house weren't worried at all, were they, at
They weren't.
94%? Really
And
good.
this is where you look at the moment, it's quite popular. Halfway point of a season is quite popular to be looking at, well, what's the likelihood of someone getting 90 points from this?
Yeah.
So we said in one of the previous pods, we looked at points per game, and that's how some of them look at it. Some of them will run it off XG, some will run it off others, and they'll look at what's the likelihood of each. They'll run a simulation for each game, and then they'll add those points up and say, well, this is what we think they'll do. And it's all based on a very similar algorithm, basically. So Monte Carlo is king in this kind of prediction. So whenever you see in the media or on Twitter or Blue Sky, you see a expected points or something, it's generally probably done on a basis of Monte Carlo. So that's the boring maths bit for you all. But if we look at how do we look on ball? Okay. It's true that dominant when you win that game is exactly 94% of the time. Yeah, very true. But that's probabilities, right? If you take those shots in certain times, they will go in, and other times they don't. So that's where we are. That's the laws of probability. If we look at how we are on the ball, we typically follow a similar pattern of how we've done in many, many games. Yeah, we attack through our wingers. We hold the width out wide, as you can see here. We've got Cody and Mo holding the width beautifully. This is first half. So this includes substitution here. So that's why you've got Kwanzaa and Gomez in roughly the same area, but that doesn't really matter. And then what I found really interesting about this game, and I think you were commenting on this as well, is Matt played deeper. We still had the triangles forming on each side, which is really nice to see. And you've got Diaz often occupying the same space as Cody, which is not a bad thing because it means we can overload on one side and then make movements in the middle, which may not receive the ball, which is why they don't show up here, which would then allow either side to be free. So the roles of CJ, Grav, because he was further forward with Dom, with Mac in the six, are really key. You know, CJ was making a lot of third man runs that he didn't get the ball, but it meant that the West Ham defence were kept honest, and it meant they couldn't double up on Mo or Cody. So that's where we are. Second half, a little bit different. A little bit more compact, but we kind of changed our style a little bit from that point. West Ham. Often I get asked to comment about what the opposition are doing, and to be frank with you, I don't really know. I look at a lot of these, and I'm not entirely sure what you were trying to do with the ball. I'm not trying to be unkind. I just look at it and say, it looks like they were trying to attack our right back area. Okay, fine. And they had, Kundus was running in areas that he doesn't normally run into, sort of here with Noble. So that was interesting. Post the subs, they kind of went even more extreme, trying to attack the right-hand side, but it didn't really work. They sort of sacrificed their entire left side to concentrate on the right. They played two fullbacks on that side as well to try and combat Mo and Trent, which didn't really work because we then went, okay, that's fine, but these players are better than yours. So, yeah, it was an interesting game from that point of view. The other side of the ball, should we say, off ball? No, that's APV. Off ball, typically, again, we just trying to go first half, second half. Yep. So we would typically, this is first half, very high in what we do in defensive actions. So we're pushing them high, targeting the fullbacks here. Not really. They're 6 now and again, so 6% of the time we hit their 6, and his partner to his left, I think it's a Brazilian lad, can't remember his name, hit him, but mainly targeting the fullbacks. Second half, again, it was 3-0 at half time. So this is typically the point of time where we just completely sit off and play counter-attack football. And largely we did, left the middle alone. We just kept targeting the fullbacks a little bit because it was there to be done. But largely we sat off, and you see the numbers here increase 11-9 in our back line compared to 2s and 4s in the first half. So a very different approach. The other thing that you will see me add, those who are looking at, is what we do once we've won the ball. And this is what the comment plot is showing. So this here is saying in the first half, when we won the ball, we typically played it out wide into Cody or Mo, who then played it into the box or zone 14 to find Diaz or Cody, whoever had made the run the run that wasn't receiving the ball, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it was the same sort of pattern with Trent and Mo. So that's what we typically did first half. Second half, because we sat off a little bit, we play a bit more, just playing it into the right half space and saying, go on then, Mo.
Yeah.
Just go and do things on the counter. So that's been 2 or 3 games down that same pattern. First half, very concentrated, win the ball, play it wide. Second half, can we now be a bit more strategic because we've got the lead? We'll just play it out into whichever the outlet is at that time. So that's probably the 2 sides of the game. Overall, an incredibly, I would say, dominant performance, a very well-tuned performance, tactically spot on, just to make you feel really good. That's West Ham's XG line, which is effectively flatlined, which like their performance for most of the game. And that's ours, just nicely climbing all the way up to the pretty much last attack of the game, which was Jota. So with a lovely little thing. So yes, a thoroughly well-deserved win for me, with exceptional processing going through that kind of just, I think, highlighted to me, as I said to you previously, is this is a side of Slot I knew he was a good technician. I didn't really expect him to be this good, and I'm happy to hold hands up, I'll be wrong. This is a side of the game I didn't think we could do, or we would be doing at this stage of the season, should we say.
I mean, it is crazy. It's the last game before the new year, which we're now in, obviously, Barts. And to be fair, you did call it, because you did say, like, if you look at the sort of statistics to build up, you would expect us to have a lot of shots against West Ham. I mean, the crazy thing was that I was actually thinking about it, is we could have been 2 or 3 up, because Areola makes a great save from Salah, doesn't he, early doors? We have quite a few chances. But even just like, I mean, every metric you gave us there, the field tilt, the chances, I mean, probably the best description, West Ham's attack just flatlined. We don't even know really what they were trying to do. Maybe they were just panicking. Is this, when you think, sort of thinking about games, and I know I'm asking you this off the cuff, is this one of the most dominant we've been all season from what the stats have told you?
This is, it sounds weird. I mean, West Ham are West Ham, right? And people will always try a caveat with, well, they're not very good. True. But I would say from a stats line perspective, the process we went through, we got a clean sheet, we scored 5 without reply. We largely didn't look troubled at all. I mean, Robbo tried his best to give him half a chance at the beginning of the game, but bless him. But aside from that, I would say, this is one of the most dominant displays we've had. United away was very dominant, but missing a few little bits here and there. But for a whole 90, this is about as close as I've seen all season. Certainly ranks up there. Really nice to see us now hitting our straps, just coming out of this bad challenging period with rotations in defence. We didn't get away with Gomez. He was red zone before the game, and it's one of those. Him, Robbo, Trent, and Grav were all red zone before the game. Unfortunately, we got away with 4 out of 5. Joey's, I don't know, might be out for about 4 weeks or so. So it's wasn't great. But I'm just saying to you, in terms of performance, this was almost like, sign me up. This is what you want to do. Last game in 2024, that's what you want. So it was a really solid performance, better than Tottenham away. And people were saying Tottenham was a brilliant performance as well. So
yeah, and Slot would have liked the clean sheet with this one, no 2 ways about it. And people coming in, like you said, this is becoming old hat a little bit, but in the best possible way. Man of the match, Mo Salah was the official sponsors. Carlsberg must hate this, because I don't think Carlsberg have actually, as someone put, Carlsberg haven't managed to put their logo on the Liverpool website or the sort of Twitter page for ages. Bart, we say this every time. It's almost easy, and it's right. Don't get me wrong. We should never belittle this, to give Mo Salah man of the match, because he was sensational again. But I always like when you give us alternative, because it is fair to call out a few others as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mo Salah was, again, absolutely astonishing. I mean, from a statistical point of view, he had about just sort of 9% of our threat creation. He had a receiving success of 98%, which is pretty good considering he's a forward. He's got progressive passes received 10. His passing success was 58, 60, around 60 mark, which is a little bit low. But again, he takes risks with that, so that's not massively a problem. XG 0.79, post shot, that one I was talking to you about, how he made the chances harder. So he added 0.31, so that's extremely good. Shots on target set of 4. He had total shots of 7, which is immense considering we talk about some other forwards struggling to get 2 shots a game. He's got 7. In terms of just going to give you an idea about, I've got penalty box touches. Yes, I do. Penalty box touches for Mo. He had 19 touches in their penalty box. Wow. 19, which is more than nearly the entire West Ham team had in our box. So it's just duel rate as well. I mean, you look at some of the duels he had as well, 60% duel rate from Mo Salah, whilst also doing all of that attacking stuff. I mean, the way he set Cody Gakpo up, by the way, I've watched that back so many times. I don't even think I could do that in slow-mo against some kids. It was brilliant. A reverse nutmeg and then another nutmeg to another block. He's doing things now that you don't expect players to do. So he was rightly the man of match. But as an alternative, I thought McAllister again had another exceptional game. He, from his position, okay, so remember these are always in association with the position he's in, right? So again, he created pretty much the most EPV for midfielder. He won more duels than any other midfielder. He had more possession, more passes, and more on ball time than most of his other midfielders, right? So he was very, very good. And you're right, McAllister had better on passing turnovers, but he's also in the injury room. You would expect him to. It's opportunity sometimes to be able to do these with. If you look at Mac, where is he? I just lost him there for a minute. At the top, he curated nearly 20% of our threat, which is an outstanding number. But and that's sometimes because he's a little bit deeper in this game, so saw more of the pitch. But pass success just short of 89. 11% of our team possession. So so McAllister for me had another outstanding game, a really, really important game. Just kept things ticking over. He's also coming into form just around a similar time last season. He came into a similar purple patch and got us through some really busy fixtures. Remember Forest away, we eclipsed it to the back post and we get something out of the game. So I think there's some really good performers. Just as a piece, because people like this player.
They do.
He was probably West Ham's best player on the night, and you can see this is in relation to his team dynamic. He had the most shots for West Ham, not difficult considering the fact that they only had a small number all game. He was in and around the average for on-ball aerials, threat, and possession, but he also won his fair share of duels when he was playing quite hard at the pitch. So it's not a bad profile to be had for Kundus, which is someone that people seem to have an attraction for, maybe, or want a manifestation, maybe, though they want to see it happen for us. But so for me, Mo was clear man of match because of the impact. People always talk about, there's many other things, but goals win you games, and he scored and created too. So for me, that's way important. But Mac at the base of midfield in this game, keeping things ticking over and helping out, I thought equally had an amazing game. So I thought that was good. Just reading a question there from about why when Gomez doesn't play, our defense is better and his ball quicker. I don't know. I would say our pass is actually better with Gomez playing, but I think our progressive passes has been slightly higher in the last few games. Gomez is a different passer to Kanate. He doesn't carry the ball as much as Kanate has become, but the different profiles of player. I think Gomez is probably the best covering centre half we have, whereas Kanate is extremely front-footed, and therefore VVD takes more of the cover and roll up when those two play, whereas it's slightly reverse for Gomez. Kwanzaa, I couldn't tell you what mould he is. I think he's far too young to have a definite profile. He's not bad on the ball, but I'm not sure whether he's a cover or a proactive really at the moment. But we shall find out against United, because I suspect unless Kanate makes a miraculous recovery, Kwanzaa will be playing on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting that. And I did want to ask you there because, I mean, you're right. McAllister, brilliant. Salah, sensational. We shouldn't just sort of skirt over that. And you're right, the way you phrased it, Bart, this time of the year, it can be challenging because of the amount of games, the way the schedule works. It does seem, though, there's so many individuals. I mean, Van Dijk was brilliant in this one as well, wasn't there? There does seem
Yeah.
so many of our big names at the moment, doesn't it, are in at the key time of the year at the right time, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, a lot's written in I mean, everyone can read the media. They read the Athletic article, whatever pod you want to listen to, and there's a lot noted on having players who've been there, done it. We have a pretty much entire back five plus a key player up front who have
Yeah,
been there and done it and won the league title. They also seven, eight of our starters were pretty much top of the league with a bow. We were top of the league in March last season. So they have experience
right.
of knowing how to get through periods of games. They know what they need to put right this season versus last. They know how they feel. The phrase in the grind, this is what it's like when you're playing this many games. Like every few days, you're playing games.
Yeah,
We've actually had a pretty good break between West Ham and United. It's been not bad,
right.
but generally speaking, it's just players know they just have to get through, get the result, and they also step up for that period because there is a bit saying that if you get through this period, you hit mid-January, February. I don't like predicting too much, but you know roughly what position you'll be in, and it's very hard to lose your position from that point. So I think the players know they're in it now. They know what they've got to do.
Yeah,
They're just going through it. Another podcast wrote they're just ticking numbers off, ticking off wins, and that's what you're in. But you still need to get in that mindset of keep it professional, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And that's, I think, McAllister has done it with a lot of international tournaments before. He's got his captain behind him. He's got Allison back now as well. They know what it means to win a league title, and they can see it in May. They just need to get through this period of time. They really need to keep going.
yeah. And listen, if it keeps going the way it is looking absolutely brilliant. I mean, that league table, even though it looks like Arsenal will beat Brentford, it still looks beautiful. 6 points clear with a game in hand. And this one, Bart, it's them down the East Lancs Road, isn't it? I mean, they're a weird old team when you look at them in the league. I mean, let's not pretend they've lost nearly half their games. I mean, the retail stats, people, look at that. 21 goals scored, but 26 conceded. You talk about threats. I mean, we don't even know which United players will be available. I mean, Rashford, is there even point in calling him out? Bruno is back. So there is a few goals in there, Bart. But I am intrigued what your stats kind of say around this a little bit, because for me, I look at United, I look at the results they're getting. It's pretty horrendous. They look disorganized. I am intrigued what your XG chart is about to tell us here on this one.
So first things first, you have to scroll really far down to find United, but it's here at 14th, just for those who are struggling with that one at that particular point in time. But so they've scored 21 goals. They should have scored 29. And they've conceded 26, and they should have conceded 31. So they're basically running cold at one end and hot at the other end. So in not the way around you want. You want to be running hot attackingly and hot. Yeah, it's not a good way. And you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, why aren't they? What's happening to them attacking wise? Shots they are taking. So they took 10 shots against Newcastle, 11, 23. So they have variability in the number of shots they're taking. The old adage, if you don't shoot, you don't score. You're not going to happen. But they're not actually conceding that many shots. So they're conceding around, what's that, 1, 2, 3. For the last 5 games, they conceded probably on average 10 shots a game. So that's why they might be. So they're under in terms of what they are conceding, probably because they're only allowing 10 shots. The way Understat will work is they'll look at the amount of XG they're giving up. So they're probably giving up really good chances, really high XG values, but they're not a lot of them. Okay,
Yeah,
so
makes
that's
sense.
probably where they are. But inversely, they should have scored more for next year they're having, which suggests to me that their forwards are not in the richest vein of form. So yeah, there's problems at both ends of the pitch. The other thing you'll note, which isn't something to write home about it for us, is that they are the worst team defensively from a set piece point of view.
Yeah.
But then we are also the worst attacking wise from a set piece or we're third bottom. So it doesn't really help us. But if we could find a way of magicking up an amazing ability or a couple of set plays for this game, then we might well get some success on that. I know, is it Bruno suspended for this game? Is that right? Is Bruno Fernandes suspended?
I only found this out a few hours ago. He is available because when the ban got rescinded, so the suspension gets rescinded at the same time. So Bruno will be available for this one, annoyingly.
Okay, well, it is what it is, but I should imagine it'd be very intriguing if he plays Casemiro and
Eriksen,
Eriksen in a midfield two against our boys, then all the best. But no, I would suggest. And what's their predicted points? What should they have got? So they've got points wise, they're down on what the points. So a lot of the stats are suggesting that they then haven't got the quality in the final third to take advantage of the chances they're having.
Yeah.
And they're getting away with considering a lot of XG. So they're kind of in that middle of, they're not doing very well defensively and they can't convert what they are doing attackingly into goals. So yeah, they are, and I would not have thought I would be saying this, but at the moment, just looking like a mid-table side.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that continues because it is the biggest game. And United at home is a monster game. Anyone who's going will enjoy that massively. But it'd be a big game. I would suggest if we can get our aerials right in their box, then we should be fine. I was just looking. I think their aerial win rate as a side is actually in around 51% for the season average.
Wow,
which is poor. Considering we look at us to having in the mid 60s as being a minimum. So yeah, I'd be surprised if we didn't get some joy aerially. If they're playing three at the back, that's normally been quite successful for us. It'd be interesting to see which forward he plays against them. Whether he plays someone up against the centre half, i.e. Jota or Nunes, or he goes again with the false nine with Diaz. But the way we've set up to play against West Ham, where we attack through the wingers, that'll be in exactly the space where they don't have a player. So therefore, the wing back will either get forced back into playing to that space to defend our wingers, or the centre halves will get pulled out wide, which will leave space for CJ, Dom's back for this one if he's playing, or whoever else is playing as a third man run to be in that middle, to be 1v1 with a centre half. It'll also free up, if you force back the wing back, it'll mean that they will be outnumbered in the middle of the park because our fullbacks will be in that area. So we could dominate in the middle. If they leave the fullbacks up, then we'll outnumber them up top. So we should have overloads either centrally or up top at most times. And then defensively, with a two-man pivot and a four, we should outnumber them defensively, provided we can manage drafted transitions. But they haven't got a lot of pace to transition on us. So, yeah, the signs are there that this should be a good game for us. But I was saying to some Arsenal friends of mine the other day was this is one of those fixtures, though, that it's United versus Liverpool. It can go either way, right?
Yeah, I suppose because people are going to be thinking about basically last season, the 0-0 when they had Varane and Johnny Evans, and we absolutely battered them and had, I think it was 34, 35 shots.
Yeah.
But it ended up 0-0, didn't it? So everyone's, wondering that and hoping there'll be an early goal just to settle the nerves. I suppose the final thing I wanted to ask you on this, Bart, is we talked about West Ham last time, who gave up a lot of shots. as much as United have, in a good way for us, concerns from set pieces, not a lot of pace in attack, they don't give up that many shots. Can you see them sitting in here and trying to make it really awkward?
I think personally, it's almost the only way they've got to play. I think they'll try and sit in with a 3 and the 4 in front, and then they'll try and use a transition moment. If Rashford plays, he typically play high and wide. He won't do any defensive work, or he play high, and that'll be their out ball. I don't know who else have been playing, to be honest with you. I haven't watched that much. Højlund is not blessed with tremendous amount of pace, but he could be another outlet. Zazibi got pulled off, didn't he, after 32 minutes last game, so he isn't going to play. And Garnacho is out of favour, but back training better, I think. So I don't know. It would be... The only way I can see, unless Almiron is completely and utterly rigid to his tactics, the only way for me that they can come and try and get a result here is to try and sit in and play on the counter. If he plays a younger midfield, then that could suggest they're going to try and not go toe to toe, but be a bit more proactive and attackers. But the way that last run of games, I'm not entirely sure he knows what he's going to do yet. But I think sitting in and trying to hope that they can, nullify us for periods of time and then get something on the break might be what they'll try and do. I don't know, but. Yeah. They've also been they've been at home, haven't they? 3 at the okay. Well, they won at Man City away playing breakaway football, so
it will be interesting to see. And there will be nerves in this because it's that type of game. It is United at home. But if both teams play to their levels, there's only one result in this, and that is what we'll be hoping for, as we know. So there we are, ladies and gents. The 1st of January, the first Stat Me Up of the year. What did we tell you? We told you we were well worth every single bit of that victory against West Ham, and every metric you can fashion shows that. I mean, Monte Carlo model had us at a 94% chance of victory, probably says it all. United, they don't give up many shots like West Ham, but they don't score many. They're not quick in the transition. It should just be about us for this one and victory. We will see what we're talking about next week. So all it leaves me to say, probably for the final time with yourself in the UK, Bart, because I know you'll be heading back to sort of warmer climates in the near future. So for the last time, I should say, in the UK, but for the first time in 2025, for the insight, for the stats, for everything, much appreciated, pal.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Stat Me Up for Anfield Index.